Ah,
So I have to tell my okay. Do you want to hear the worst flight I've ever had? If this is actually a good story. Uh, I'll, d- and it's one of these stories that's good because it's over, but it's what told me if you're going to fly internationally, direct flight every single time.
mm,
So me and my friend Chris were going to London for a show, and it's the first time either of us had been out of the country. So we're all excited. We're going to London. This was probably 2015. We're going to a GI Joe Transformers show. So they invited us over and or invited me over, and I took Chris along just to have a traveling companion.
sure.
And so we get there. Our flight is supposed to go from Raleigh, and we leave at 3 in the afternoon or something like that, to
Uh-huh.
Boston, Boston to Iceland, because I'm trying to get the cheaper flight to London. So it's a beautiful summer day. The sun is shining, there's not a cloud in the sky. Gorgeous. We get
Ah,
to the airport. I'm like, this is gonna go so freaking smooth. Get up to the JetBlue counter. Here's our, blah blah blah. Oh, okay. Your flight's been delayed 2 hours. Looks like you're going to be miss your flight in Boston. You can okay. So here's your options. Like, wait, like beautiful day. Why? Why? Why is it delayed? Apparently there were storms in the Florida. Florida man strikes again. You're
uh-huh,
monsters, and it
uh-huh.
was just this cascading effect right on the flights. So she said, and we were flying into not Heathrow, the big airport, but Gatwick, which is smaller and to the south of London. And she goes, well, you can come home and try again in the morning. And I'm like, dude, I'm here. I'm not going. Like I've been looking forward to this trip for a year. I'm at the airport impact. I'm not starting this journey over. you know.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
She goes, well, you can fly into Boston. We can get you there in the morning. Blah blah blah. And she's on the phone talking to try to work out the details. And this is the only smart thing in this entire process that I did. She kept. I realized halfway through listening to her that she was trying to get me into Gatwick, not into London, the London area, into this smaller airport. And there were no flights. And finally I leaned in and said, we can go into Heathrow too. That's fine. And she goes, oh, there's one leaving tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. Let me do your job. Let me get behind the counter and do your job for you. So she said, all right, this flight's leaving in 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours. You'll get there on time, blah, blah, blah. Great. Me and Chris go through checkpoint. Now, Chris is a nervous guy in general. He's the one of the fun. Chris is the guy, for those of you who've watched any of my videos and heard some of the voiceovers for the commercials I've done before my vlog. He's the guy he wrote a couple of them, and he did the voiceover. He's the funniest
Okay,
guy I've ever met in my life, but he's
okay,
also like, it can be kind of like disheveled and awkward and stuff too.
okay.
So we're going through security. I go through security, no problem. He goes through security, beep, sir, do you have blah blah blah? He gets stopped, which puts him all in a fluster. Finally get through that. We go have a dinner because we got a couple hours to kill. I go over to so I'm thinking, oh, got all this time. This is great. We leave dinner, walk across, just literally across to the gate. It's been delayed another hour. Like, oh man, that's going to give us like an hour to meet our flight in Boston. So we it's one of those flights where you're like watching the map and you're like, go faster, plane, go faster. And that little plane is like you're trying to push it with your finger. You're like, get, we're gonna miss our flight. So I'm stressed for the 2 hour flight up to Boston. We get up to Boston. We land in a terminal, which I hate Boston now. I hate it. I hate Boston Airport. Boston
Yeah,
Logan's the
yeah.
worst place on earth. We land on this wing where the entire terminal is JetBlue, and they don't list any of the other flights. It's like it's all about us. This is our terminal. Whippity doo. And so I'm looking at this board, and I'm like, there's no other flights listed up. So I thought, well, we got to get out of this terminal. So we walk to the intersection of the terminals, and there's a big board that has international flights, has all these other flights, and our flight's not listed. British Airways not listed.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, and I'm looking around for someone. There's nobody there. And by this point, it's like 11 at night. Now, I did find out that they had delay because there's so many delays. They had pushed this flight back like an hour. So it's like, okay, we got time. I just got to find this plane. And so I can't find anyone. And there's this kiosk that if you, instead of like having actual people, you scan your ticket and you scan your ticket to find out which way you're supposed to go. So I go, scan it, beep. And instead of like giving me a gate number or anything, it just points an arrow to the right. And I'm
Good
like,
job, Boston. Good
and I'm
job. It's the
like,
reason why I hate
oh,
you.
I'm like, oh, okay, okay. Well, Chris, come on. Now you got to keep in mind, I'm carrying my art bag that I've stuffed 3 of those black portfolios with art. So I'm carrying 3 blocks of wood in this thing. And Chris is carrying his stuff, and Chris is not in the best shape. And I mean, I work out all the time, and I was struggling. And so I had this thing, it's got to be 100 pounds on my shoulder. And I'm like, we start walking down this quarter mile terminal, and it's desolate. There's nobody. And I'm like, uh, am I don't know if we're going the right way. So we kind of turn back around to second guess ourselves. And like, no, no, no. It said go this way. So we keep going. We turn back around, keep going. We hit construction
What?
and we stop and we're like, crap, what? And by this time, we've wasted like 25 minutes of this hour. And so we're like, oh, crap. So we got to walk all the way back. And we come back to that same intersection. I'm like, well, maybe it's this way. And I walk through a door, and I promise you, there was no sign that said no re-entry. We just walked through a door, and suddenly I realized we're in the check-in area for JetBlue. Like we're outside
No.
security. We're done. So I didn't realize that at first. I walked up to a counter and said, "Here's my flight." I said, first of all, and I will never forget this flight number. Can you tell me if British Airways flight 202 has left? And she said, no, it's still here. And I said, great. Where is it? She said, oh, it was in Terminal D. And I said, well, we walked in Terminal D and we hit construction. She says, you should have kept walking past construction. I'm like, who walks past construction? So we
Oh,
she goes,
man.
here's what you do. And I still hadn't dawned on me we were outside the security area. She said, all right, here's what you need to do. Walk down these steps, go down here, go through a hallway, go outside, you'll go to another building, go in that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And as I start walking away, I go, wait a minute, outside? Like, and then it starts dawning on me, holy crap, we have to go through the TSA again.
Oh, man.
So we're like huffing it. And the way she sent us was through basically a labyrinth underground. It was like it was like, you remember like those old like Wolfenstein video games where it's like you're going through the first person shooter and you're going through a hallway and you turn right into another hallway and you see that end and you turn left and you're another hallway and it's just like a
Yeah,
hallway.
yeah.
Okay, that's how it was. And it never ended. Chris is getting agitated.
You're
He's
playing
getting like,
Doom.
dude, yeah, it was like playing Doom. He's getting a little fight or flight's kicking in with Chris.
What are you gonna do?
Oh,
Ah!
yeah. Well, it's like, what do you just bottle it up? And Chris is the most mild. Anybody that meets Chris at a show, and if you meet him, you will think he's the best, funniest, mild mannered person you've ever met. And you're right. But I've seen Chris mad, and it doesn't happen. I've known Chris for 20 years, and this is the second time I've seen him mad, and it's actually pretty scary. So we go through, we go outside, we go in, and all of a sudden we're in this beautiful terminal, and there's people. And I'm like, the crap? So we have to go
Civilization.
through TSA again. So I go through, and fortunately, there's no line because it's so late. So we go through, I go through, they're like, come on through. And I turn around, I'm getting my shoes on. And Chris had bought a like quart of water at the inside the airport at the other place. And then he had put it in his own personal like water bottle thing. And they
Oh,
stopped
no.
him and said, you're gonna need to drink that right here. Or no, I didn't know. They stopped him and I turned around and he goes, go on, just go on. I said, dude, let me find the gate. I'll be right back. So I run down. They're loading, like there's a big line. They're putting people on the plane. I'm like, oh, it's only 3 gates down. We're gonna make it. So I come back and Chris is gone. There's no Chris. He hasn't, he's not anywhere.
What?
And I'm like, where did he go? Like he knew which way I went. He didn't come this way. He's just nowhere. And so there's a TSA guy just lounging there. And I said, hey, I just came through here like 5 seconds ago with my friend. And I was wondering if you saw him, and I'm blah blah blah, and I explained the situation for like 45 seconds. That dude just let me talk, and then he goes, "Dude, I don't know who your friend is." And I said,
Boston.
"No, no, no, no." I said,
Ugh.
"I'm traveling with him, and now I can't find him." And another guy walks up and goes, "What do you mean you lost him?" And I'm like, "Why do you need?" He's like, "Why do you need to find?" He starts like interrogating him. He's like, "Why do you need to find him?" And I'm like, "Because I'm traveling with it." And I'm getting pissed. Like I'm just like, and I've like it's been just this ordeal. We've already been traveling, like 9 hours, and we're not even outside the freaking U.S. yet. And I'm like, it's like I started like because I'm traveling with him, and if a third TSA guy goes, "Dude, is that him?" And he's coming back through. He's got his shoes in his hand. He's all disheveled. He's carrying all this stuff, and he comes up, and we get back together, and he can't get his shoes on. And I look down, and there's only like 4 people left getting on the plane. I'm like, dude, we have to go now. And he's like, all right, go without me, go without me. And he's like fumbling and
Messy man down. Messy man down.
he's like, he is willing to take one for the team to get me to London and just be stranded in Boston. He's like, go, go. And I'm like, come on. And I'm like, I'll stop him. And I get up there, he gets his shoes on. I get to the gate. We are the last 2 people before they close the door. Hand them my passport. He hands them theirs. They hand me mine back and say, "Have a good trip, Mr. Canada." And I didn't process because Chris's last name is Canada. And then it was like, wait a minute. And they stopped me. And it was like they checked my ID with my thing. And then there was this whole thing because they had switched them and I didn't realize it. And they stopped us. And then that got sorted out, right? And we get
Oh
we,
my
we get
god.
all the way to the back of this 747, and the air is not on. Which is what sparked this story to begin with. And I have been trucking since,
Oh
at whatever
man.
time. I had no water. I was so thirsty. I was dying. And we're sitting there, and I said, "Chris, what happened back there?" He goes, "Well, I bought that water and I poured it in my water bottle, and they stopped me and said, 'You have to pour that out. You have to throw that away or drink it all right here.'" And it was a liter. It was a liter of water. And he went, "This is a good container. I'm not throwing this away." And he was out there. They pulled him aside and he was downing that water. So we so we get on this plane and he's all like hydrated and just bursting at the seams with hydration. And I'm like, I need water. I've been pulling this 100 pounds of art this whole time. So
That's
they
awesome.
the flight attendant comes by and they're like, "What would you like, love?" And I'm like, I just need water. I just need water." And they're, "Oh, water, sure." And they pulled out this tiny little cup and go like, "Bloop, here you go." And I'm just like, and then before I can say I need more, she's moved on. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh,
More, please.
more,
More.
please."
More,
I'm,
please.
I'm like, this, I'm gonna die. This trip is gonna kill me. But it gets better.
It
So
gets better.
oh, it does. So we had where this is a nonstop flight over the red eye all the way to London, and we're flying over the Atlantic in the middle of the night, and I have my window up, and I look outside, and it's the best view of the Milky Way I've ever seen. It was absolutely beautiful. Like I could see everything, and even with like meteorites going, it was like, oh, it's great. And right when I was looking at that, flight attendant came by and said, "Sorry, love, can you put down the window? Thank you." And I'm like, oh, okay. And I close it. And I'm sitting there and for a while, and I can't get to sleep because I'm all jacked up on just adrenaline and stuff.
Right.
And I said, "Man, that was a beautiful view." I was like, "I just want to take another peek at the Milky Way." And at such a high altitude, right? That it gets light at like 3:30 in the morning with latitude. And so I open the window and it's like, light, sunlight comes in, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And
Oh man.
my brain went, "Time to be awake."
So you're one of those moon-eyed people?
Oh, I am. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
See, I
So,
told you. I told you.
so we land in London. I have not slept in like 24 hours. And we go through customs. And when me and Chris get separated in customs, he goes to one station,
Oh
I go to the
gosh.
other. And The guy goes, "How long are you here for?" I'm like, "Oh," he didn't sound like that, obviously, but he says, "How long are you here for?" I said, 7. I'm here for like 7 days. What are you doing here? Well, I'm just here for vacation. I'm doing to a con. We're gonna see some. What are you gonna see? I don't know, like Big Ben, just the tourist stuff. And he goes, "Where's your itinerary?" Uh, my
What?
itinerary. Well, I'm like, he goes, "No, when are you gonna leave?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's in my Expedia account." And I had logged in the day before into Expedia with my password, and I'm so sleep deprived. I pull out my phone. I cannot remember my password. I'm like, and then
Oh,
and
man.
then Chris is over there ahead of me at a different station, and his customs officer came up and whispered something in the dude's ear. And because he'd asked me if I was traveling alone, and I thought he meant like family. I mean, me and Chris have our own passports, our own tickets, so it's not like we're together like that, family wise. And I told him I was alone. I was traveling, I was by myself. Like I didn't have any other people I didn't understand. I was sleep deprived at the time. And she whispered something in his ear, and he goes, "Thought you said you were traveling alone." And I said, "Well, I mean, he's with me, but not like we're not like family. I thought that's what you meant." And he goes,
Oh, no.
and he's like, "Okay." He gives me this look, and I'm trying to find my thing. And
By the
I
way,
said,
did he look like Michael Caine?
he did not look like Michael Caine. He was actually Indian, I think.
Oh, well, there you go.
I actually all the customs people were not British, as I remember. They
Mm.
were all like Indian or Pakistani or something. Um,
Matt V says, "We're not a couple."
we're we're not relations. Uh, so we got the uh I was looking for my itinerary. I said, "I'm sorry, man. I've never traveled before." He goes, "You've never traveled?" I'm like, "Well, not outside the US. We don't do all this stuff in the US." And I took forever. Like I was taking so long. Finally, I just hear "Chukunk, just go." He stamps my passport. He's like, "Just you're fine. Just go. Just go." He got so tired of me. He's like, "This fool is not a threat. Just get
He
out of
can't
here."
be a terrorist. He can't remember his name.
Yeah, yeah. So we get out of that, go to pick up our baggage. Our baggage isn't there. It's on the Iceland Air flight that we originally had scheduled.
Oh.
So they gave us the essentials kit, which as the Brian Regan comedy routine goes, apparently all the essentials in life can fit in a plastic bag. You really don't need that much. So we go to the hotel, we do the thing, do our sightseeing anyway. So we come back that night. Here's the end of the going to trip.
This is you getting there.
This is just getting there. So we have to go back to pick up. And once you get out of customs, everybody's lovely. Everybody's just so nice and so helpful. Well, we go back to the little door at the airport. We're supposed to go in to reclaim our baggage. And there's a little tiny mini security thing there. And I'm like, "Do I have to take off my shoes?" They're like, "No, love, just walk on through. Just walk on through." I walk through, no problem. Chris walks through. Beep. "Sir, can you take off your shoes?" And that's
Man,
us. That's
this
us
is
getting
this
to
is Home
London.
Alone. This is Home Alone, the London trip.
So that's us getting there.
Oh,
And
man.
here's the little stinger at the end of this story.
Right.
Going back, we had a great trip, beautiful time. We leave, we take our Iceland Air flight back. We land in Iceland in July. Got to see Iceland. Great. We land in Boston on the way back.
Ugh.
We get through customs. Customs was no problem. The only problem was it took what 30 to 45 minutes to 50 minutes to get through just because of volume of people.
Okay.
And that was tacked on to our time. I go through, the guy says, "Oh, you're from North Carolina. Well, welcome home." I'm like, "Oh, thank you, America, America, God shit." I mean, just
Did you pledge allegiance to the
oh,
flag
I'm
while you were
just like,
there?
"God bless you, sir." I go through, and got to get to JetBlue. So we get up
Ah,
there to the exact same counter. I asked for directions going out, and I said, "Oh, barely made it. Here's our thing." She goes, Oh yeah, we've stopped taking luggage for that. You're gonna have to fly out in the morning.
What?
Like, it hasn't left us. Like, is the flight here? Yeah. Can you put me on it? Like, can I get on it, please? And she goes, sorry, you're gonna have to go back down and go. They'll sort it out over there. And we had to walk through the labyrinth again.
Oh, Doom Part
And
2.
this is the part of the trip where Chris snaps. We had to walk to the JetBlue counter through there, and and Chris was having some sort of weird PTSD moment. But when we went back through, mild mannered Chris, I hear this voice behind me. Son of a bitch. And I'm like, I think I've lost my friend. I don't know who this is. I don't know what's going on. And I'm trying to make like light jokes, like, looks like you get an extra day of the trip, London, huh? And so we get there, and he's like, he's oddly quiet, mumbling to himself profanities. And we get into the little thing, and I go up to the counter, and I'm like, hey, here's the deal. We need, they said they should hook us up with a hotel for the night. They worked it all out, and they said, what's your name? I said, Brian Shearer. And normally, if you ask Chris what his name is, he'll say, Canada, Chris Canada. That's exactly how I'll say it. The guy said, and sir, what's your name? He went, Chris Canada. And I'm like, it's been a long day. And then we went to dinner like Fridays or something and flew out the next day. And that was our London bookended trip. And the problem all along was Boston Logan International Airport. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
Thank you.
Woo! That was epic. That was epic. Oh man. Dude, that sounds crazy.
So the lesson, everybody, I'm telling you, if I ever fly again, fly direct flight from where you are and pay an extra $1,000 for it. Unless you just want a good story to tell on the podcast at 10:30 on a Thursday night.
Brother, that's sick. That is nuts.